I was 6 years old and I was sitting at the front of the church with my fellow first graders. We were waiting for the start of the daily mass, but I was keeping my eyes out for the arrival of my friend Marcia. And when I saw her from a distance, we started immediately signaling a countdown with our fingers. 4, 3, 2, 1. That was a number of days until I could sleep over at her house, which was an event I was looking forward to, but also a little worried about. I'd never spent a night away from my mom. Now, I lived with my mom and dad and brother and sister in a little plain Jane 1950s Rambler. My brother was a snarly preteen who mostly hung out in the basement like a troll. And I loved my sister, but I had to share everything with her, including a bed and bedroom. But Marcia, as it turns out, was an only child, and they lived in a big, classically old house, 2-story with wood floors and the built-ins. And Marcia's mom was a revelation. This was in the 60s when most housewives wore these loose-fitting house dresses, but Marcia's mom had jeans on and a pullover sweater. And when she called us to dinner a few hours later, I was sure it was going to be the only no-meat Friday meal my mom ever made, mac and cheese. But Marcia's mom had made a homemade batter and had rolled fish fillets in it and fried them. And most surprising to me was that Marcia's dad had caught the fish weeks ago and frozen the fillets. The only two people I was aware of that fished were Huck Finn and Tom Sawyer. I didn't know that anybody's dad fished. And that night, I made it through the night without missing my mom too much. I did some, but I kept it under control. And the next morning, Marcia's mom made us French toast, and the two of us sat in the cozy little breakfast nook in their big sunny kitchen. And up until a minute before that, I'd never heard of French toast or breakfast nooks. And then Marcia's dad came into the kitchen to announce that he was going on errands, but before he left, he pulled Marcia's mom up close to him, and they exchanged a long kiss. And I had barely seen my parents touch, much less kiss. And then it was time for me to go home, and my dad came to get me. And when we arrived, there in the kitchen was my mom standing there. She was happy to see me. But I had a treasonous thought, the first of a kind. And my thought was, my mom looks dumpy. And my dad made a beeline to lie down on the couch and finish watching the Twins game. And I was thinking, why isn't he fishing? And that night, I told my family about all the wonders of Marcia's family. And I asked my mom if she'd make me some French toast, and she'd never heard of it. And I thought, yeah, I bet you don't know what a breakfast nook is either. And I asked my dad why he doesn't fish. And he just chuckled. He said, not every man fishes. And I thought, not the lazy ones. And my brother suggested that everybody would be happier if I went and lived with Marcia. But finally, hours later, I was lying in bed next to my sleeping sister, and I finally stopped the comparing and the contrasting. And when I did, I felt a tug on my heart, a pull. And I jumped up and I ran across the dark living room, past the scary portrait of Jesus with the eyes that follow you across the room, into the well-lit kitchen, knowing my mom would be sitting at the table working on a puzzle. She looked up and she saw me and she put her arms out, and I crawled into her lap and I just sat there and drank in the feeling of being whole and complete and totally loved. And in the years that followed, I wasted too much time thinking I needed what others had, until I finally realized after my mom was gone that what I was really looking for, what I really needed, was to once again feel whole and complete and totally loved. The feelings I got from my mama. Thank you.